Rackless luggage does not have to cost a fortune. I have a DIY setup here. It is what I consider my 2.0 setup for less than $250 that I'm gonna review for you if you're looking for luggage. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. This is my Rackless Luggage 2.0 setup. I had another setup on my Tenere 700 and I was using the Rhino Walk bags as the main bags. The seams on one of those bags started ripping out and I tried to contact Rhino Walk through every possible means I could to get warranty service and it was impossible. So I came up with 2.0, which real quick, I'll go through all of the different pieces, then I'm going to talk about how well they've worked and some of the reasons why going DIY is a really great choice, especially if you are on a budget or don't want to spend $500 plus $1,000 on another rackless setup like the Moscow Moto setup. And there's some other brands out there that it is just not cheap and it doesn't have to be that expensive. So underneath here is a harness made by Rhino Walk. So I am using their harness. I think it's $28 or $32. So it's very inexpensive. I talked about this when I talked about my DIY setup. But I needed a different bag, primary bag. And so what I went with was the Wild Heart bag. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Adam Ryman and his channel out of Australia, you'll notice he uses bags that are made by ADV Works. I've looked at ADV Works bags and I want to say they're like $350 to $400. If you look at those really closely, they basically look like a branded version of these Wild Heart bags. Now, each of the Wild Heart bags, being at 20 liters, costs about $65 each. So $130 for both sides. I will show better images of these, but they have cam buckles at the top so you can run straps from side to side to get them to hang off of the bike. And then I've also attached these to the harness to keep them in place so that they're not flopping around. I've been really happy with these. I have over 12,000 miles on this luggage setup and it has worked really well. Now, the one thing that hasn't happened is I have not dropped the bike, even tip overs or any spills with the off-road riding. So I don't know how well it's gonna hold up if that does happen. Even if you get a couple holes on it, you could throw some Gorilla Tape on it to get you home. If it's bad enough, $65 to get a replacement bag. Not bad. You could buy a lot of replacement bags for this over buying one of the more expensive ones that, yeah, it might hold up to more falls, but you're gonna be spending 4 or 5 times as much. Now, what I have on here is the 20 liter bag. I have another, it's 10 liters up front. I'm only using about 8 or 10 of it at tops, and then about a 4 liter bottle holder in the back. So it's approximately, what is that, close to 40 liters if you add all this together, 36 to 40. I don't use all of that, but there's a lot of space in here. And what I really like is that it's configurable. If you don't want to put a front bag on here, maybe you don't need it, you can take it off. If you don't want bottle holders on the back, you don't have to put those on. And maybe there's a smaller bag that you would prefer to have up front, maybe like one of these Nelson Rig crash bar bags. You could slide this on here. It is so configurable and that's really what I like. And the cost is pretty inexpensive. Now for me, I'm able to get everything on here. And then I have a dry bag up on top of my bike that I run with my clothes, and my sleeping system are up here. This is a 40 liter bag, but I don't fill it to 40. It's probably about, I could get away with a 30, 35 liter bag. It's just, I like how this bag closes. Now I know some of the Rackless luggage has these beaver tails for strapping stuff down. I have a 1-inch cam buckle strap on here that I like, and I think you can get a set of these straps for about $16, a set of 4. So you can run these all over the place. So this has been a really great luggage setup. I'll get a better view of all this, but if you're wanting to stay on the budget side, I have been so pleased. Now, a couple of the things that I think are really important, I wanted to keep the bike narrow so that I could get through more areas, and that couldn't have been more evident than when I was riding from Frank from One Old Man Riding. We got to an area that was really, really narrow, and I didn't realize how narrow it was because my bike is no wider than my crash bar bags. So if my crash bar bags fit through somewhere, I know the rest of the bike is going to go through. Well, Frank has the racks on his 390 with bags on top of those. So he's at least 6, maybe 8 inches wider on either side. And so he got hung up and we had to pull his bike back. So I really appreciate having a rackless system that is narrow. This is extremely narrow. So that's another benefit to this system. So it's configurable, it's inexpensive, it's narrow, and with a little bit of creativity, you can really strap this on well. I don't feel this bouncing around at all. Now I have had to do a few things and be creative with the way it gets strapped on, with anchoring it at the bottom, and with the way that I pull these straps up onto the harness, which I'll show here in a minute. That helps keep everything tucked in, and then I run straps around to pull it all together. So anyway, I just really wanted to do a quick review of this. I will leave links for each of these bags in the description below. So if this is something that you want to try and put together a configurable DIY rackless luggage without spending a fortune, you can do that. And I really like the Nelson Rig bags. I think had I been able to get those on discount, I probably would have put those on front and back. So if you keep an eye out for their stuff, you can get a discount and maybe save a little bit of money here and there. Overall, very, very pleased. So let me show you some of the features of how I've got this strapped on, and then I'll do a final review of everything and open it up for questions in the comments. So let's get to that. With any bag setup that I go with, I like to be able to pull the bag up and keep it anchored. So this harness here has a couple of plastic anchor, some D-rings here that I run these straps through. And then that way, when I connect it, if I pull this strap, I can actually lift the bag and get it sucked in a little bit more. So I've always done that, trying to pull the bags into the bike. I know most riders just use this strap and just kind of suck the top down, but I like pulling everything in. And when I do that, it helps lift the entire bag and then helps pull it in to the bike. With these cam buckles, I run them through the rack, and then I go under the harness here. And then from there, I can just put it over my bag and strap my bag here. Now, if I carry a drone in here most of the time, so that's really primarily what this is. It's filled with a drone. If I wasn't carrying a drone, my configuration might be a little bit better, and you'd be using a little bit less space. All right, one of the things, because there's got the cam buckles here, I run a strap that goes across the seat to the other side here. So these bags are actually being supported also on the seat itself, not just strictly from the harness. And I do that on the back and front. Now this one is a little loose, but I normally keep those tight to give that, just to help pull everything in to keep it from flopping around. This might be kind of hard to see, but I do have a heat shield here. I have melted the bags a little bit. The heat shield wasn't quite in the right place when I first started using it, but that just keeps the harness and the bags elevated off of the exhaust. And then that way, I'm not melting anything. So I do recommend getting this. This is the Rhino Walk one. I wish it was about twice the length of this. It's a bit small, so if you have others that you like or something that's a little bit longer, I would choose that. But I'll still leave a link for this one because it does work. I just wish it was a little longer. All right, in the front, the Wildheart bags, they have straps that go around. So I've used that to pull these bags in tight. And then I also, down below here, there's a strap off the bottom of the Wildheart, and I've wrapped that around my peg. And then that way it just helps pull everything in together. And so far, all of these, the webbing and the straps have held on really, really well. And I strap the heck out of it. I pull it tight and, you know, ride rough roads and everything gets bounced around, and it's really, really held up well. I've been impressed. And the bottle holder, there's nothing special about it. This little part here, I always carry a little battery pack because I'll charge my helmet communications in the middle of the day when I'm getting lunch, just to make sure it's charged up. But if you don't have this, you've got some reflective striping on the bag that would be good to have if you're riding at night a lot. And then in this particular side, I have a little bit of spare oil, but I just keep miscellaneous stuff. The other side, I do actually carry water with me in there. Real quick, I want to explain basically how I pack to give you an idea of where everything is going. And that'll give you an idea and maybe some thoughts on if you want some of these extra bags, or if you could just get away with 20 liters because of the way that you camp and travel. So on this side, I carry my tent poles, I carry a tiny little hammer, and then I also have the cane that's all cut for lifting the bike. I also keep my tennis shoes in here, some shoes to wear when I get to camp. So all that is in here. Up front here, I carry a fairly robust first aid kit. If I maybe had a smaller kit, I could get away with a little bit less, but I keep that in here. And just some miscellaneous stuff. If I pick up food, I can drop it in here, drinks. On the other side in this bag, I carry my chair, camping stuff. I carry an extra tarp if it's raining. And then I've got a battery jump pack. In case the battery's dead, I can jump start the bike. And then on this front bag on the left side, I carry a boil pot and a little stove and some fuel. And then I carry an insulated bottle so that I can put Gatorade in it in my last gas stop and have cold Gatorade or a cold drink when I get to my campsite. And then, like I said before, this bag that goes here is just clothes and my sleep system. So that's basically a wrap up of this luggage system. If you are looking for a budget rackless luggage system and you don't mind configuring it yourself and figuring out how to strap it onto your bike yourself, this is a really fantastic way to go. I am so pleased with how this has turned out, with the way it is narrow, the way it straps on, it holds itself. The weight is forward of the rear axle, which I think is really important to help the balance of the bike. It is performed beyond my expectations. I thought that these bags, like the original Rhino Walk that I had, I was expecting to have more issues, more of these bags ripping out and having things happen, but they have performed great. Now, there may be some other less expensive bags that you could put with this harness. You know, just mix and match and find what works for you. But for this year on this bike, this has worked fantastic. So let me know if you have tried to do your own DIY luggage system, what those components have been and what you spent and how well it's worked for you. I know my first video I did on a DIY system got a lot of views, and I'm wondering how many of you maybe tried some of those systems on there to get those to work for you, and want to know if it did work and how it worked out for you. So for me, been really, really pleased. So anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time. So do not pass up that ride that you've been thinking about. Get out, do some riding, ride safe, and I will see you out there. I usually carry I carry a thermarest, not thermarest,